Hey, you've tuned into You're Entitled to My Opinion. Insurance is like an asshole. Everyone has one and they all stink. I'm Lady Justice. Welcome to the one-stop shop where no one's going to be safe. I'm a trial paralegal, an insurance adjuster, and a senior claim law associate. A lot of lawsuits involve insurance. In insurance adjusting, we always say, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. Believe me when I say, that's not you, the little guy. I intend to pull back the proverbial curtain on law firms and insurance, which I know will stir up the ant bed. Through this podcast, I will educate you by storytelling and being brutally honest about the actors who I think help hurt, lie, cheat, and steal in the industry. And there are many, and they're on both sides. Tune in to hear my stories. If you think law and insurance adjusting is all rainbows and butterflies, buckle up. You're entitled to my opinion.
Shout till your head blows off. If they don't listen, then you make them sing. You keep repeating till they believe. Now you gotta tell me.
What's up, everybody? The purpose of this episode is going to be Sharon's anger translator in a way, if you want to say, and to explain the bullshit. Yeah, explain the bullshit that homeowners deal with in a time of need. And if I can get this old lady out of her shell, that's a plus or a win-win for everybody, right? So let's burn some bridges. I'm very excited. Needless to say, we won't be working for an insurance carrier. So the first on our hit list, or mine, because she's legally obligated not to be dragging people in the mud when it comes to conglomerates. And of course, they've lobbied that way. Allstate, the ones that say you're in good hands, but whenever it comes down to it, all they can do is lift the middle finger. We're going to hit that up. And we're going to be touching on some water mitigation, subrogation, continuous applications, appliances, adjusters being treated as experts when all they do is watch Fixer Upper for training. So let's get into it. What's our most recent blunder?
Well, I mean, we could talk about, if you want to talk about our recent Allstate claims, water
Yes.
claims. So usually, rarely do I get them in the beginning. I get called after claims already been called in, adjusters already come out, water mitigations probably already come out, and the homeowner is given some money or told they're going to get some money, but it's not enough. So they're talking to their contractor. Their contractor's like, what is this? Even with the deductible, it's not enough money. So they know something's wrong. They just don't know what. They call me, they hire me, I send James out. So James can tell you, comparing what the adjuster's estimate and the homeowner is seeing versus what he sees when he walks in.
Yeah, so when we get called into it, whenever I'm partnered up with Sharon or doing anything like that, writing her estimates, we get called in and we only see the bad because you don't need us if you got it taken care of, right? The biggest problem when it comes to water issues is water mitigation companies. That's it. Now, if insurance wants to give you a list, I would say fuck off immediately. That's all I have to say about that. I
And
don't care if
when
it's
you
ServPro. I don't care if it's Blackman Mooring. I don't care if it's your local. The state recognizes they're the greatest water mitigation. I don't give a shit if it comes out of an insurance carrier or an insurance adjuster's mouth. They are dog shit. And they're there to minimize the entire thing, to make sure that they pay less out of pocket. And everyone knows you get what you pay for, don't you? It's not good.
Yeah, what you're referring to is potentially preferred providers. And one of my claims, it is a company that's here and they're not a preferred provider, but they want to get paid. So they start buddying up to the insurance company and they allow the insurance company to negotiate with them. What I don't like about that is they're in it for them, they're not in it for the homeowner. And once they start negotiating the price, they're also negotiating the scope. And once you put a bunch of fans out there and you do minimal tear out, you're not really drying it. You're just there for the cash. So you really need to go in. We have somebody that we recommend, they're not with us, but we finally found them and they go out, they do very fair work. They only tear out what's wet. They take pictures of the moisture readers. They're they just do a really good job taking pictures when they get there, pictures along the way, clean up really well, and pictures at the end.
Yeah, and let me put this out there. When you have a water mitigation company that's using nothing but air handlers and dehumidifiers and all that bullshit, that means that they didn't tear out enough. Okay. If you tear it out and get it all out of there, you should only have that for maybe 3 days. You'll see water mitigation companies that will be using the homeowner's power, okay, and also all of their space, extension cord, whatever they need to dry it out, and it'll be weeks, maybe a couple of weeks for them to dry it out. When all you have to do is tear out everything that water touched, and you're
But
good.
but you understand the tear out costs money because if you tear it out, you have to build it back.
Yeah, and all you water mitigation companies know exactly who you are. You know exactly who you are. So you can go cry in a corner. I don't give a shit. I welcome it. Listen to our podcast and you'll hear more. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So,
I have to
so
rant.
anyway, when so in this one particular instance, it was Winter Storm Uri. And James, can you put on there what the TDI, because this was a huge violation. I mean, this would have been an attorney wet dream, clearly, but we got it done. She was very happy. She was widowed. So easily I could just walk in there and say, well, God, you don't really need me. We're past this point. But I want to give every insurance company the another bite at the apple, because you say you're a legitimate insurance company and you really do care about your homeowners. You're not responsible for every bad adjuster or got an ulterior motive of, well, I want to get in there, close this claim, save the company money, and I'll move up the hierarchy. So which happens, and you can't say who's doing it and who's not. And then you may have good intentions. Your supervisor's the one who's got the wants the check mark in their corner. So and if you can put up the TDI just so we can just
You want
quickly
TDI
go over what,
deadlines or do you want
yeah, TDI deadlines, because
TDI
there are
deadlines?
actual state statute. Yeah, it's the Texas Insurance Code. Texas Department of Insurance also puts it in their Consumer Bill of Rights that states that there are time deadlines for the insurance company. So in this particular case, this was her Winter Storm Uri. It was February 19th, 2021. This homeowner did not hire me until December 6th, 2021. So we're talking 10 months later, literally like just a couple of weeks shy of 10 months later. And they had not given her not a penny on her build back. They paid for the plumbing repair, which is considered emergency. So they paid that. They also paid the water mitigation, as we were talking about, the negotiated price with everything not being torn out. And they said that they owed her $5,000, 5,000 on like a 3,500 square foot, one-story house. Totally, one small bathroom was not affected. So we're talking a kitchen, everything. So and all the pipes were in the attic. So everything from the top down got wet. They said $5,000. They never gave her an estimate. They just told her it was going to be 5,000. I'm roughing it because it could be like 5,200. Her deductible was 3,000 of it, and they were supposed to send her a $2,100 check. They never sent it to her. What they did do is they were here it is. Okay, so um, they were supposed to send it to her, but she couldn't get anything done with it. But they did pay for her ALE, which is additional living expenses, and they did pay for storage. So they were at least reimbursing her for food and her new apartment and storage for whatever wasn't damaged that she put away. So what the TDI deadlines or the Texas Insurance Code deadlines are, and remember, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. This is out there. So within 15 days after you file a claim, let's just say Hurricane Uri started on February 19th, which it did. Well, you might not have known that
It
day.
was a
So let's say
freeze,
February
winter
20th.
storm. It wasn't a
Oh,
hurricane.
I'm sorry. Yeah, winter storm. It was a freeze. So you might not have been in your house. Maybe 2 days later, you go and you go, oh, damn. So 15 days after you filed the claim, say she filed it on February 21st, they have to acknowledge the claim in writing, including a general reservation of rights where it's appropriate. A reservation of rights, just so you know, is we're not saying we owe it. We're not saying we don't owe it. We just don't know right now. We need some investigation. So they're not flat out saying no, and they're not saying yes to everything. They're just kind of giving themselves a caveat, because what if it's not covered, right? Which we'll get into freezes and coverage. Within 15 days after you file that claim, they have to come out there. Now, unless this is a natural disaster, your president or your governor can call it a natural disaster. That extends everything. But let's just say it's not a natural disaster, it's just a big storm. 15 days after you file that claim, they have to come out there and investigate. I don't care if it's on day 1, I don't care if it's on day 5, I don't care if it's on day 15. That is what they're supposed to do. Okay, so in this lady's case, this widow's case, they did do that. They came out there at some point with her water mitigation company, and that was the issue, is they were doing the no negotiation, with no, I'm not paying that. Okay, well, would you pay for this? That kind of stuff. And my client, who wasn't my client at the time, she didn't know what was going on. She had a man, this water mitigation company, that was taking care of it with a man at the insurance company. So within 15 days after you file the claim, if they're going to, they give you a proof of loss and say, hey, what's the damage? So that's where you're supposed to, either, if you don't have a public adjuster to write your estimate, you got to go get your contractor. But keep in mind, when you get your contractor, the guy, he's not doing an Xactimate. He's not line iteming everything in a room like, oh, 2 feet of sheetrock and the room is this size and we've got, insulation and flooring and whatever. He's just pretty much giving you a global, I'm going to do these rooms, flooring, walls,
And
paint.
being a contractor, you don't have time to sit there and go through Xactimate and treat every single homeowner. You need to get bids out because that's what
Right.
they're wanting. And then you're
Yeah,
also
because
going to these homeowners' houses. You're wasting a lot of time, especially when it's an emergency and there's
right,
an
and you might
abundance
and you
of
might not
work.
get the business.
Yeah, there's abundance of work. Dude, it's they're trying to help as many people as possible. Not just that, but they're trying to line their pockets. They're trying to provide for their family. And this is the one time, like the past year, we have had a huge downtime and or a drought when it comes
Storms,
to storms. And so if you're into water mitigation, or if you're into what build
fire,
backs,
smoke.
fires, smokes, whatever it is, like I mean, you can't not jump on an opportunity.
Okay, so next is within 15 days. So like I said, if they come out on day 2, now you have 15 business days. If they come out on day 10, you got 15 business days. If they come out on day 14, they got 15 business days to accept the claim, reject the claim, or state in writing that they need additional time. Sometimes they need an engineer to come out there, or they might need, a water mitigation. If you haven't already done that, they need something. But if they don't need anything else, they've got to say, we're paying. Now, within 45 days after notifying you of the need of an additional, so say, for instance, they go, oh, well, we don't really know what happened here, so we need an engineer to come out, or we need our plumber to come out. So within 45 days, they have to accept or reject the claim. They can always ask for that additional, just say it's a fire and you really do need more time. Let's just say you do. So the within 15 days after they say they're going to pay, and it doesn't matter if they say, we owe you $5, Sharon, and I say, no, you owe me 20 because my contractor's over here and you owe me 20. They've got 5 days, 5 business days to pay you $5. 5 business days. Okay, so let's go to this lady. Number one, she hires me 10 months later. She didn't get that measly $2,100 check. She didn't ever get an estimate at all. Now they're taking care of her, living elsewhere, but she can't do anything with her house. She doesn't have a husband. The water mitigation guy's been paid. He doesn't know what to do. He would like to do the build back, because they will offer that, but he doesn't there she has no money to do this, and we're talking, she has a $3,000 deductible. That's all she should have to come out of pocket. Okay, when they hire me, I send James out there, and James can tell you what he saw. Of course, we know the water mitigation guy didn't tear out everything he was supposed to because he was worried about getting paid. So he didn't tear out the kitchen, he didn't tear out wallpaper and paneling. So go ahead, James.
Yeah, I mean, whenever someone's writing your check or signing off on your check, you're going to do what they want you to do, right? I mean, it's pretty common sense. And that's why I was starting off this episode with shitting on insurance providers, and shitting on preferred providers and a vendors list. And you water mitigation companies, if you're on that vendors list, I'm not knocking it, but you're told to keep it low. And if you don't, you're going to be threatened with not getting your full bill paid. And you know that.
Or future business.
And I wish these seminars that everybody pays $1 million to go to a year, that they would sit there and they would actually tell you real life stuff. They're not going to sit there and tell you it's going to be somebody in a suit that's like, oh, I'm you can do this, you can do that, and if you can't get it done, send it to me. Send it to me as an attorney, and I'll fight it 2 years later, dude. People have investments. Mortgage companies, they all have investments. Um, that's another big topic we could get onto and vomit on that. But
Okay, so in
basically,
this particular,
basically, these insurance providers, they come out and they tell you, hey, keep it. Okay, everyone knows that cabinetry is a big ticket item. Okay, everyone knows that if you cut 2 feet up around cabinetry, that means that water touched that, correct? So how did the water just skip around cabinetry? And that's all, dude, it's like twisting an adjuster's arm to get them to admit cabinetry needs to be removed. And they
on a
they'll
lot of,
and they'll even say they won't even address the countertop that's on it. They'll go, okay,
well,
fine,
wait,
but they
a
won't
lot of,
detach and reset the granite countertop.
wait, James, don't forget, a lot of times people's kitchens are on an exterior wall. So you don't
Yeah,
just have cabinets, you've got
yeah,
sheetrock and insulation.
yeah, exactly. And it's trapped underneath and
Yep.
behind. And you think in Texas it ain't gonna be mold? You're
Yeah.
freaking you're high. So I mean,
Okay. So in this particular case, this widow's case, James went out there and James wrote up my estimate, and it was $150,000. And James writes very conservatively. He really does.
yeah,
He writes it like,
I
not as a contractor for insurance, which is slightly different.
I like to win. I'm competitive. I have a college background in baseball. I do not like to lose arguments. So my estimates are all based on winning arguments. That's it.
So you have to get them. You can't be so crazy that the adjuster shuts you down. They just go like, you know what, I
Yeah.
can't talk to you
It's a
and shut it down.
negotiation.
You don't have crazy numbers or anything that's out of the ordinary. Now, in this particular case, they never gave us an estimate. So what I got was I got an adjuster. And then when I started being very aggressive with him about how crazy this is, and it's not just me with my legal background, lawyers train me. So I'm a pit bull on a pork chop. It's also, I feel very passionate for these people. It's not my house, but this poor lady, she's widowed. She's used to her husband taking care of stuff, and he's not there. She relied on the water mitigation guy because he was going to do the build back, and he was all, oh, we're going to do all this stuff. And then he kind of left her to dry. And now she doesn't know what to do. In fact, she was a little leery of hiring me because I'm a female. Seriously, she thought, well, no, you're going to be like me, and how are you going to get me any money? And are you going to be able to go up against them? I'm like, chick, I was raised by lawyers, 33 years. So they teach you failure's not an option. You just go get it. If it's right, you make it happen. And so, but I'm not successful 100% of the time. Whoever holds the gold makes the rules. That's the insurance company. So when James did the estimate for $150,000, I got an independent, and then he just thought I was too aggressive. And I got another independent, and that independent was a lot nicer. He said, look, I'm not going to come out there. I don't see where anybody's written an estimate at all. It sounds, if you can make sure I have photographs, and I'm trying to look at the photographs from before, I'll try to duplicate your estimate. I am willing. This guy's in Pearland or Manville, and this is in Conroe. I'm in Spring. So if this is like over an hour for this guy to drive. It's a good 30 minutes, 20 minutes for me. So he's going to trust us, right? So he's going to try to mimic James's estimate. I asked him, do you want an ESX, which is just sharing it, but he can't do that. So he
Yeah.
goes through and he tries to do the line items. He can't get the number exactly right. So some of it he has to do bid items for. Okay. But we get that number, 150,000. Now he turns it in. We don't hear anything. Now we're talking, she hires me December 6th. I sent my letter in December 6th, pointing out all this stuff. The check, and James, you can put the check up there. Oh, put the letter first, if you don't mind.
I'm
You
not
can
gonna
take
put a
this down.
check up there.
No, put the, yeah, I blacked it out. There's a letter first that shows that they were offering her $2,100 or $5,100 or whatever minus her deductible. So if you
Yeah,
can
hold
take
on.
that one down and put the letter up so they can see, the date was March. So within a month after the storm, the winter storm.
Yeah, it's not going to load in time.
Sure. Okay. So there's a check for that they sent her, the ACV check for $122,000. Remember, they were supposed to give her 2,100. Now, after she's hired me, it's 122,000. They're still withholding 30 something thousand on the back end. They're going to pay James's estimate, which is 150,000. That's the real number. And it could actually have been more because the longer we waited, the more everything got. Okay, so here's the letter. The data loss, so go up, see the data loss is February 19th, 2021. And the date of the letter is March 9th. So it's less than a month later. They've already come out and they've already told her, this is how much we owe you. She has a replacement cost policy. This is their build back. This is not the insurance paying the water mitigation of the 34,000. It's not them paying the plumbing repair estimate. This is them telling her we owe you 2,100. Well, even in December, when they're saying, oh, we paid this lady, I said, you said you owed her 2,100. You didn't even send her 2,100. What kind of fuckery is that? Right. So they were like, no, 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 we did. But when they looked, they hadn't paid her anything. Now, I don't know if you can put the check up, James, so we can see the date. So this is March 19th. Didn't even send the $2,100 check. And I don't know what 5,100 is going to pay for because it's not going to pay for shit, honestly. Um, and and they send her the check, and it's February. It is literally 2 weeks shy of a year. So we're talking this lady's out of her house for a whole year and no money. Any contractor that was even thinking about doing her stuff is gone. He's moving on. They're moving on to other houses or rebuilding other houses that did get money. So here's the check. And you can see the date of loss is 12/19/2021. And you can see the date of the check. Go down a little. Date of the check is February 11th. February 11th. So data loss February 19th. February 11th. So almost one whole year later, 122,000. Now, just so you know, if you're tuning in and you don't really understand what ACV, RCV, or how insurance pays, I said my estimate was 150,000, or James' estimate was 150 roughly, and they paid 122. So what happens is you have to imagine if you have a replacement policy. Okay, that means that it's going to be replaced at today's prices. If you have an actual cash value policy, which is a cheaper policy, then what they do is this would be all the money she would see. There would be no money on the back end. They take the amount of money, the damage, they depreciate it, however much, sheetrock depreciates, paint, carpet, all those things depreciate, and they keep it on an ACV policy. But on an RCV, which is a replacement, this is her first check. Her second check, if you went back to that letter, said her deductible was 3,000. That's the second bag of money. So they pay the 122. She pays the 3,000. Once that contractor puts that house back the way it needs to be, back to where that's indemnification, put it back the way it was. If it had carpet, flooring goes in. If you had painted floors, they don't have to pay for it. If you had wallpaper, they have to pay for wallpaper. You had a kitchen, you put a kitchen back, those kinds of things. And then once you prove to them that that's all done, and your contractor charged you the 150,000 in this particular instance, not 150, then they will pay you that back in money, which is the third bag of money. We called it withheld recoverable depreciation. So it's money that's owed. Now, let's just say this lady didn't put her house back. She just kept that 122,000, put her house on the market and sold it. Insurance doesn't owe her that back end money because she didn't make the repairs. They don't owe it. And that's why these are set up like this, because you kind of hope that that they take their cash and you get to save 30,000. Well, think about 30,000 with, a
Yeah.
million people,
Yeah.
right?
Times a million.
The other thing is she owned her house outright. So there's no mortgage company on this. So that's another
That's
thing. If the
straight up
mortgage company, yeah.
non-taxable cash put right into
Yep.
your bank
And
account.
she could have said, you know what, my house is old. I don't want to rebuild it. She was a NASA engineer. She lived in Conroe. She worked in Clear Lake. She got her apartment in Clear Lake. She could have easily used this opportunity of, I'm a widow. This happened, God forbid, it was horrible, but everybody's alive, right? And just taken this 122 and started over and sold her house as is, which a
You
lot
know,
of people did that.
that was common advice in during Harvey. Whenever you weren't in a floodplain, you didn't have flood insurance, and insurance gave you like a bare minimum, and you're like, you know what, sell your house as is, pocket that
Okay.
cash, and you end up making money.
No, I had that. But what happened was during Harvey, just like in Katrina, they didn't put the loss payee, which is the mortgage company. So when you buy a house in your deed of trust, it says, I will keep insurance on your collateral. Okay. Just like a car, your car's the collateral to the note. So if you don't keep insurance on it, the mortgage company will take out insurance. And we call that a forced place policy. They will insure the house, so they don't care about your contents. So you won't have coverage on your contents and you'll pay a lot of money for that policy.
Yeah,
But the insurance
structure.
company has the right to do that. So all I'm saying is this lady could have just taken this cash, sold her house as is, done, over with.
Yep.
My fee is based on that check. And then it's February. She has to put it in the bank, let it clear. And then she has to turn around and find her contractor. And at the time, there weren't any contractors available. Plus, as she's trying to find one and vet them and see what all, because she's building a house back now, she's literally remodeling a house from the ground up, okay, or from the top down. So she's having to choose, how do I want my kitchen to look? And do I want to take out a wall? Or, I mean, because you can do all that now because the house is gutted. So she also, everybody else is in the same boat. She can't find appliances.
You got to be
It's
careful doing
July.
that though, because then you're doing a lot of upgrades, and then when you look at the back end money and your contractor ends up saying like, "Hey, you owe me 10 more thousand." You go, "No, I thought we were doing this for insurance proceeds." And you go, "Well, see ya," and
You're
now you're
upgraded.
into another, yeah, now you're into another little
Well,
battle. So
I
be
so this
careful
is what
with
I
that.
tell.
Be careful with that as homeowners. I would say, and
Yeah, what I tell
you're
my
not gonna
what
know
I
per anybody can be nice to you for 10 minutes. You know, you won't until you owe somebody
right.
money. That's when you know who somebody it really is. So
This is what I tell my clients. I tell my clients, get your money first, then find your contractor, and don't let them do it for insurance proceeds. You know you've got to spend in this
yeah,
case 150,000. You're not trying to cheap it out. But when you go to that guy and you go, here's for insurance money, and you had Formica countertops, guy's gonna say the insurance included Formica countertops, and you go, well, I want granite. They go, oh, that's extra. And you go, well, my bathroom, I have carpet. I would like some wood. Oh, that's extra. If you take your pennies,
yeah,
if you take your money, in this case, it was dollars, it wasn't pennies, but sometimes it's pennies, and you decide what you're going to do, then you find your contractor. Remember, you're not trying to commit insurance fraud. To get that back in money, you need to spend that 150. You
yeah.
need to spend that 150.
I
If
would
you
say
get 10
go.
extra things in there, do it.
I would say go for the granite, but maybe paint your own house. You know, like
Well,
say
whatever. I mean,
don't go. Hey, give me the granite and paint my house, and
and
you
this
expect that $3,500 to not come back and bite you in the butt. You're negotiating again.
But you
It's what
lose
it
your
is.
leverage, James, and you know this. They lose their homeowner loses their leverage when you're really busy. You get the leverage when, like right now, there are no storms. You can get a damn good deal on a roof. You can get a damn good deal on all kinds of stuff because
Yeah,
people
but
aren't
then
busy.
but here's the other bad thing about, and I hate to crap on Texas because I'm Texas 100%, but there's no license to do any of this stuff. So you can literally get bailed out of prison tomorrow and then start up a contracting company the next day, and you're dealing with the criminal right there.
Unless,
Yeah,
well,
and
wait, you're innocent until proven guilty. So don't say just because you're arrested, you were. Come on now.
I'm
Okay,
talking about
my
somebody who
point,
just took off the freaking.
James's point
They
is,
just got his
if
clothes
you're
back
good at
16 years
if
ago.
I know, but your point is that you don't really know who's approaching you or who you're hiring. You don't
Yeah.
know. You need to do your due diligence, do a background check. In commercial insurance, they do have to have a license. In residential, no. It
Well,
could be my next door neighbor.
here's a perfect example. I have a homeowner that's asking me for a bid for a cash roof, and he's already got insurance to pay. Now,
Right.
I would be careful. You're not supposed to profit off of an insurance company and or an insurance claim. So, say it's a $15,000 roof, but you feel like that you can get it done for 10,000, correct? You get what you pay for, and it's the skin to your property, dude. Like they could put up a garbage bag on your roof, and that's your fault. That's your fault because you're trying to cheap it out. Damn it.
Oh, James, we're losing you.
Yeah, I
What
know.
I was
Hold
going to
on.
say on that particular one that asked you for that bid, it was a settlement. I actually settled that case. So when you do a settlement, you're signing a release, they're walking away. They're not saying, hey, we're going to hold out the back end money and you got to be careful about the insurance fraud and lying and saying somebody paid a deductible and they didn't. This is an actual, hey, we're going to give you a lump sum of money and you can do whatever you want with it and we're done. And you can't sue us or anything else. So, like I was saying, James, this was a wet dream. Honestly, this is a wet dream for an attorney. This particular case that we were talking about 10 months later, they violated every one of those Texas insurance code violations. So, what the attorney can do is he can sue for if this was, somebody had a tagline, right? Like a good neighbor on your side, you know, like you're in good hands kind of thing. An attorney's going to sue for misrepresentation, false advertising, deceptive trade practices because you're a consumer and you purchase something. That policy is a promise. So you purchase, you gave money, and you're expecting that promise in return. um, they're going to sue for that. They can ask for bad faith, and how bad faith works is to me, a jury can call bad faith, but we as adjusters are supposed to, and the insurance company is supposed to act as in good faith and fair dealing. So if a jury were to say you weren't acting in good faith and fair dealing, then the opposite is you were acting in bad faith, and they can give money for that. There's also penalty interest and some other things only lawyers can get. And then there's also an appraisal type, invocation that could happen that's in the policy that we'll talk on another subject on that.
Okay.
So James wants to blast out to insurance companies. My passion is, and everybody gets it. Like I get fired up, pissed off. I mean, I freaking want to take heads off. I tend to want to be professional when I'm doing something like this, but I'm F this, F that. I got the middle finger. I might not cuss in front of my clients. They could be church leaders, but I certainly will say
Yeah.
this is how you're being treated by the insurance company
Yeah.
because
It
it
can get
is true. And
uncomfortable. It can get
well,
uncomfortable pretty quickly, like if you're not ready for it. But it's necessary. I mean, they're taking advantage of you, and if you don't say so, it's like it's a bully in a way. If he steals $1 from 100 people, he's got $100 in his pocket, and if only 20% fight back, he gets to keep $80. Isn't that a that's a
James,
hell of a that's a hell
yeah.
of a
So
turnaround.
so James, here's the thing. In baseball, it's if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Is that a baseball term?
Dude, oh my God, the Astros got in trouble for cheating. It's a band-aid you just ripped off. God, okay,
Oh,
you
go
know what?
ahead. No,
No, it's
tell me
fair.
about
We
it.
won the World Series. That's okay. That's
No,
okay.
no, 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 no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Ain't
about
cheating,
you
ain't
playing
trying.
baseball. Hold on.
Well, how do you
I'm
cheat?
talking about you playing baseball ever since you were little. We always said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Like, if somebody had a finger on the bag or whatever, the umpire couldn't really see it. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I think I tagged him first. I'm just saying
Yeah, not
that's how
everybody's like
insurance sees
privy
it.
to the little league. Yeah, I
I mean,
understand.
it's a look, insurance companies are a for profit business. Okay. So I always say, if they're going to take advantage of the fact that a homeowner doesn't know, people don't know about public adjusters. They don't know we're out there. We're the best kept secret, honestly. There aren't that many of us. We're like record drivers. You don't know if you're going to get a good or bad one. But my point, I guess, oh gosh, now you got to bring the old hat out. But
Now you made me
when I
you made me
say
do this. You
when
made
I
me do
say
this.
when I say if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, I feel like maybe they're trying to cheat, maybe they're not, maybe it is systemic, fuckery going on, but or maybe it's just one guy, maybe it's a desk adjuster and the independent who went out there wrote it all up and he did a really good job. Maybe he's paid
Oh,
based on it.
perfect
And then that
example. I want to air this out.
Okay, go ahead.
There were people during the winter storm that were from like Michigan and stuff like that coming down to Texas and calling us babies while they're adjusting
No,
claims.
they were calling other things.
Yeah, I know. But they're sitting there saying, "Oh, this is not a big deal. Oh, it's snow, what you can't drive in this." I don't give a shit. Do your goddamn job. And if your goddamn job is to sit there and say, "Hey,
Care,
that cost $15, it got wet," you better put a
care,
fucking $15 check in the mail. That's all I
okay,
guess.
careful on the.
I don't care about your personal opinion about snow, and you're this hard ass that had to chop wood your whole life.
Okay, I
Dude,
got to say this. Be careful on the
sorry.
taking the Lord's name in vain. But I will tell you this. One thing that I heard over and over and over again was, well, they're going to get their house remodeled. Remember Mr. Smith, James?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this pissed me off.
Like, what are you
This is
crying
an
about? You're about to get
elderly,
a
okay,
remodel.
okay,
Yeah.
this is an elderly couple. She is indigent, like she is ambulatory. Okay. So what happened was he found my name. I can't remember who. I think somebody at his church told him about me, and he lives in Spring. I went over there, and I have to say, I can't smell. I lost that at swine flu, not COVID. So more than 10 years ago. Anyway, so I go into this house. His wife is in a chair. He has to do everything for her. We are 4 or 5 weeks in after the storm. He has had no water. He's had his water turned off because he had water breaks. And keep in mind, you have 5 duties. I say you have 5 duties under your policy, and one of them is to mitigate from further damage. So if you're pipe bust, you have to go turn the water off. Second thing is you need to go get a plumber out there, right? But the plumber, this was an older home, it was cast iron pipes. The plumber has to be careful because if he repairs what he thinks is, so he had 3 leaks or 3 busts. If he repairs those and then he pressurizes that system, he could blow the whole thing out and just flood the rest of the house. And then insurance can come back on him for subrogation. So they get really sketchy about, hey, dude, I want to do this, but I'm going to tell you this may happen and I don't want to cause it. So they recommend that you repipe it because let's don't go there. Then it's really going to cost the insurance money and potentially come back and sue me. So this is where this guy was. He didn't have the money to repipe his house, and I'll say it, Allstate said to him, this really pissed me off, y'all. Allstate said to him, "Well, we're going to look into it. I got to get my supervisor." They told him that for 4 weeks instead of just saying, "No, it ain't covered." They said, "Oh, we're checking into it. Oh, we're checking into it. Oh, I got to check my." And this guy is calling now. This guy has no water. He is having to wash his wife with wipes. He doesn't take a bath for 4 weeks, at least 4 weeks. He is wiping his wife down, who's ambulatory. Okay. They're both elderly. I think they're in their 80s, early 80s, late
Yeah, they
70s.
were
Anyway,
pretty.
so he gets dermatitis because he isn't washing. He goes to the dermatologist. Dermatologist said, "You need to take a bath." He can't take a bath. I offered to buy get a hotel room so that he could go take a bath. We get on the phone. So I'm writing this in my letters. I'm saying, shame, shame, shame on Allstate. They're not in good hands. You shouldn't even advertise. Like I'm being a shithead. I'm being what we call a Richard head
What's
because
funny is she's
I'm
not lying. She'll send me these
fucking
emails like, "Hey,
pissed.
is this okay?" And I'm say, "Whoa, whoa, dial it back." And
And then if an
they'll still
adjuster,
cry about it. And I'm like, "You should have seen the freaking first
yeah,
rough
yeah,
draft."
like an adjuster will say, "You
Yeah,
were mean in your letter." I'm like, "Oh, you
yeah,
should have seen the first
yeah.
one." They think I'm
You
kidding,
should
but
have
I'm
seen
not.
first, second, and third, bro. You're
Well, anyway, so what
sissy.
happened was we finally get on the phone with the guy, right? We realize this segment is sponsored by Guardian Risk Management. Times are tough, money is tight. Unfortunately, in times like these, the bad guys come out of the woodwork. If you have employee drivers and high insurance rates, you know what I'm talking about. Are you looking to have access to an attorney for business and liability questions? Maybe you're looking for an affordable attorney to review, prepare, and oversee your business contracts. It's possible you just need someone that can look over your business structure, get your corporate books in order. These tough times often require the dreaded demand letter to be sent, and occasionally a lawsuit has to be filed to collect your accounts receivables. Well, look no further than Guardian Risk Management. They have affordable membership plans where you can pay monthly to have access to real life personal professionals to guide you and protect you and your business. Call now, 713-970-1093. That's 713-970-1093. Guardian Risk Management, guarding your tomorrow.